Hello, and welcome to another edition of Cal Conversations. I'm Beth Hadfield, the Activities Coordinator at the Center for Active Living. And today I have the esteemed honor to have my coworker here, Bernadette Denson, who is our Marketing and Media Coordinator. Welcome, Bernadette.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Bernadette and I work together 3 weeks out of the month. And we say that laughingly because the whole idea of today's show is to explain to our community at large what it takes to put together our newsletter every single month.
Yes.
Which is a project in and of itself.
Absolutely.
So I thought if you wanted to talk a little bit about yourself and your background and maybe how you ended up in Plymouth.
Okay. Well, my background, my start of my career was really in human resources. So for years, I was what they call an HR generalist. So I did a little bit of everything in HR, but I really gravitated towards the employee events planning and the marketing or the employee communications. So I loved doing kind of the human interest stories around the building about all the good news that was happening and kind of sharing good events with our employee population. We had about 500 employees at the company I was working at. And I also did the newsletter for them. So we had a monthly newsletter, not as big as the one that we have for Cal, but I always loved doing that. So that was kind of the start of the process. I did that. I was at that company for about 12 years, and I really thought I would stay in HR for my whole career. But I got married, had a family. I had, at the time, I think I had 3 kids at home when I decided to make a change to doing contract work on my own. And so from there, I continued with some HR communications, but I branched out. So I wrote for our town paper. I did some editing for a publishing company. And I also did a lot of HR communications contract work. So I wrote employee handbooks. I wrote employee policy manuals, that kind of thing. So then fast forward a little bit, I had my 4th child, and we moved to the small town of Upton, much smaller than Plymouth, has about 8,000 people versus 65,000 or so. So I was there, and I had been volunteering at the Center for Active Living there. Was called the Senior Center in that town, but similar situation except a much smaller center. There were only 2.5 staff people. So I was a half-time. We had 2 full-time. So I had been volunteering there doing Meals on Wheels. They ended up needing a part-time person in the front office. And so I took that, and I ended up working there for 8 years. And I just loved it. I did the newsletter there, but I also did the employee event planning and just kind of fell into place. And so fast forward from there a little bit, and my youngest child was finally going off to college. And my husband and I decided to move to Plymouth. We decided to be closer to his family, and also I wanted to get closer to the water. So we ended up coming to Plymouth, and I kind of started looking just very casually for maybe a job opening. I thought I'd never find something that would fit the bill. Part-time, working at a senior center, and it just so happened that there was your ad for looking for a part-time marketing media coordinator to do the newsletter and other marketing communications. And so I came and interviewed and got the job. I think I started 1 week after I moved to Plymouth. So I interviewed before I even moved here. So I got lucky.
You did. We got lucky.
Oh, well,
we
thanks.
got you. We
Thank
got
you.
lucky. I think what I'm going to say really rings true. And everything Bernadette said, she has done a lot of writing. And I think that's where you and I really work so well together. It's just, she really makes the words in our newsletter sound wonderful and amazing. Not that our programs aren't, they are, but you put them in the best order and make people want to come and participate in all the events.
Well, I appreciate that. But it is fun to write this particular newsletter because I'm always amazed by the range of programs that you come up with, that you're willing to try all different things, see what sticks, see what people like, the fact that you take suggestions on, people say, hey, I want to start a new activity, and you just run with it. And I really do feel a sense of responsibility of trying to get the word out because there's so many great programs. I'm constantly telling people, my neighbors know I'm always leaving the newsletters around, and I love to hear when people tell me they're picking it up at the hospital or the library or wherever, or online if we send it to them.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
No, it's true. But we thought we would actually go through the process of what people have to do. So first thing, what do we do? What do we do? When I say we, sometimes it's more Bernadette than me. In this we instance, it's going to be more Bernadette than I. But where's the first place we usually start when we're getting things together?
So we usually start, the very first thing we do is you and I sit down together.
Right.
And people are always surprised to hear how far in advance we need to do that. So if it's generally speaking, the newsletter needs to be done around the 15th of the prior month. So that means the last week of the month before that, we're sitting down to have our initial conversation. So we're now finishing up our October newsletter, which means that the last week of August, you and I sit down and have our very first conversation about what do you have on the calendar, what are all the events that are coming up, and some of which are completely fleshed out and others you just have as ideas at that point. And we also sit in on our staff meeting to get ideas from our coworkers as to anything else they want to highlight. Sometimes our director has important things that are coming up, or sometimes there's issues about facility or anything about recognitions that we've gotten that we want to make sure that we save space for in the newsletter. So we have that initial conversation, and then that also typically involves what are we going to put on the cover, because that's kind of our fun thing, which we always want to look at what's going to be on the cover.
The cover is our very most prized possession.
Yeah.
And every month it is a different artist in different mediums. So if you are an artist in our community watching this show, you can submit your artwork to be featured on the cover of our newsletter.
Absolutely.
We try to keep things seasonally looking. Sometimes we can't always do that. We find a very beautiful piece of art and we're like, okay, can we make it work for whatever season we're in?
Right. Or we'll get something and we'll hold it for, if it's just quintessential fall, we'll hold it for the following fall. So we don't get rid of things. We hold on to them.
Right.
So they may resurface. And we really make an effort to try to do a combination of types of art. So we have watercolor. We feature watercolor drawings, acrylic paintings. We do a lot from our photographers. So they could be participating in our Shutterbug Photography Club. We really try to highlight those folks. But also just the casual photographer around town. Sometimes we'll have somebody just snap something on their iPhone downtown Plymouth, and it turns out to be a cover. And then we've also featured collage work. We have a lady in town that's done some amazing collages that we've put on the cover. We've also done some of our pottery pieces. So we also like to let people know that it doesn't have to be someone that's super advanced in their craft. We really have enjoyed featuring people. I had a lady this past year who we ended up also featuring in our annual report, who had only been doing her watercolors for something like less than a year.
Right.
And everyone just loved the piece that she did. So we try to use it as a vehicle to let people know some of the things they can enjoy at Cal. They can join the photo club, they can take art lessons, they can take pottery classes. So we want to kind of show, look at this person thought about doing it their whole life, never had a chance to do it, they just picked it up, and look how much they've been able to progress. So that's always fun.
If you would like to submit your artwork, you can do so through the town website. You would go to Town of Plymouth, Center for Active Living, and then you can contact the staff. I am a town employee, so you would email it to me, Beth Hadfield. Bernadette is a contracted employee, so she would not be on that list, but we work so closely together, she would know that everything that came in, and, we share our resources so that we can have the best possible cover.
Right. And I'm always popping into the art room to remind people that we really want them, we encourage them to submit their pictures of their pieces. And we always do a little write-up on the inside of the front cover to sort of acknowledge what the artist's inspiration was and what their connection to Cal is, and kind of how they ended up creating that piece.
So there is also another person that's involved in our whole putting together of our newsletter, and that's Michelle Massesso Antonuccio, and she is our newsletter designer. Unfortunately, Michelle couldn't join us today, but she is the glue to everything that Bernadette and I do to get things set up. She makes that newsletter look magazine worthy for us.
Absolutely.
So when it goes to print, you're getting a book in the mail each week.
Yeah, she's amazing. She takes, as you said, you do all the planning of all the activities and the ideas. I do the writing and kind of the layout of, how the puzzle pieces are going to fit together. But she does an amazing design job of just making it look beautiful and knowing how much is just the right amount for each page, how much we can fit, what the flow is, so that people kind of know where to find things in familiar spots in the newsletter, but yet have some variety each month. So she's just does such a great job. And I have to give a shout out to her daughter, Margot, too, who Michelle always mentions that Margot gets super excited about when we pick our covers, too.
My goodness, so, I did not know that.
Yeah, she mentioned that in particular, we have one coming for October that had pumpkins all over it. So Margot gets very excited behind the scenes when her mom's working on the cover.
That's really great. But there is also someone else who works with us, and it's Margie. And I'm going to let you talk a little bit about what Margie actually does with us and for us.
Yes. So Margie Gett is our volunteer that is my extra set of eyes on everything in the newsletter. So as many times as I look at it, after a while, towards the end, especially after I'm doing that calendar in the center that has every program on there, you can go a little crazy and sometimes miss things. So she is my amazing behind-the-scenes proofreader. She used to be a AP English teacher.
Oh, I didn't know what her background was. So.
Yeah, so she's been great for me because she not only just proofs, but she also gives me all the explanation on, if I need to move a comma here or there or an apostrophe. So she's fantastic. I give her the entire draft, and she goes through the whole thing from beginning to end, including that picky little calendar. And she finds any typos, or hopefully between the two of us, we find them. But then we run it all back by you because you're always an extra set of eyes. Kind of the high level look at it too, if for some reason, we're missing a heading or anything like that. And one of the biggest challenges is, as you know, because we're doing this all the time, things change all the time. So we're constantly trying to keep all the latest information in the newsletter, but an instructor may have to cancel a program, or dates may get changed at the last minute. And you might think it's just in one spot in the newsletter, but it's often referenced in various other spots. So you and Margie are always great at helping me find if I've not, caught every change that needs to be in there.
And I think that's where we need to reference again. That's where our constant contact, which is our email newsletter that goes out every Friday for the next week, that's where the little bigger changes come in. Because our newsletter goes out so early and things can change later after we've already sent everything to print, we still need a way to communicate with everybody.
Right.
And there are last minute things that happen, whether it's weather, an instructor gets sick, or we have to cancel something because something changed inside the center and we have something else going on.
Exactly.
So for those people that are listening to us talk, please know that if you're not already receiving our weekly constant contact, you can call the front desk at the Center for Active Living and leave your current email so that we can get you the most current information that we have. That is also why we ask people to register for programs and not just walk in. Yes, many of our programs are, subject to people just coming in because they have time. But when there's a last minute change and you haven't registered, we don't have a way to contact you.
Right.
So we really do encourage people to register as often as we can so that we can get those pieces set and
absolutely
for the last minute changes.
Yeah. And we should probably mention too that there's a second thing that they can register for to get by email, which is the newsletter itself.
Yes.
So if they'd like to get it, it's always available on our town website, and there are people that have a subscription to get it a hard copy through the mail. But the easiest and most efficient way is as soon as we post it with our publisher, it becomes within 24 hours available online. If they want to get an email notifying them of that, they can also contact the front desk or go through the website and let you know on your email so that we get them on that list.
That's true. But they can also do it through the town website. When you go to the town website under Center for Active Living, on the left-hand side, it references the most current newsletter. When you bring that up, there is an option there to register to get the newsletter emailed directly to you so you don't have to go find it.
Yeah.
Or get it a third way through our constant contact.
Right. Yeah.
So we talked about information changing. We do have a 20-page newsletter.
Yes.
20 pages.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't even believe we have a 20-page newsletter. But I would say between you and I, our biggest issue is trying to get everything in there.
Yes, I agree with you. It's definitely like how are all the puzzle pieces going to fit? So it's both the biggest challenge to it, but it's also the most rewarding thing when it does all come together. So we are constantly talking to each other throughout the day, and also with Michelle, who's doing our design work, because things change right up until the publication date, and we want to have the most current information in there, and we want to have as many programs in there as we possibly can. As you said, we can rely on the constant contact emails as a backup, but we know that this is kind of the go-to thing for most people, and we want to make sure that it's as accurate as can be. So we're constantly, refining the length of different articles in order to make everything fit. I think definitely one of the biggest challenges is people will give me, all kinds of information about their program, and having to boil it down into a paragraph can be hard. So that's where it always helps to bounce things off of each other so that we're making sure we got all the critical parts. And also when we do interviews with people, we do spotlights on if we have new COA board members or people on our Friends board or new employees or volunteer of the month. We want to make sure that we're highlighting them appropriately. And it's such a challenge because there's so much I want to say about people. Same with the artists for the front cover. I could go on and on about, kind of their background, how they first got into painting, all that kind of stuff. But having to boil it down so that it can realistically fit and capture the most important information is, I think, the biggest challenge.
I agree and finding a way that it literally catches someone so we know they're going to want to participate. It's so hard. So people understand, I mean, you and I know what our process is, but if you come to me and you want to create a program, I then give you a program proposal and I ask you to fill out a lot of questions, because in the end, Bernadette and I are narrowing it down and narrowing it down and narrowing it down to get to exactly what we want the community to know and understand about the program coming. Sometimes we do a great job, and I would say 99% of the time, we really hit the nail on the head. There have been a few programs that we missed the mark, but we're learning so that when people come back, we refine what we're saying and we present new ways for people to
to get a better sense of attention. Yeah, definitely. And we try to we have a lot of grids for our regular programs so that people know the go-to area. You know, some of the ongoing exercise programs or our ongoing art programs, they really just need the dates. It does have a summary of what program's about for newcomers that might not have tried it before. But then we have a whole section reserved for new programs that are kind of just things that are changing every month, so that people understand who the speakers are, or if we have things going on with open enrollment that we want to highlight, or if you have someone coming in to talk about Medicare or Shine programs, we want to make sure that we're giving even more of a background so people know what that's all about. Yeah. And that's where Michelle is amazing too, because she really can find ways to highlight what's most important about things and kind of attract people just with the colors and the graphics to really zeroing in on, kind of the nuts and bolts of that month's program. So
if you're new to reading our newsletter, and we're starting a new regular program, there will be a starburst or something to draw your attention to let you know the program's new. I literally have the newsletter divided by page numbers in my head. So pages 8 and 9 are always our newest program spotlights that are coming up for the month that we're currently in, or maybe the next month. That's something that's really new for us.
Yes.
But we've got so many new things that we really want to get out. We're highlighting programs in the current month for the coming month.
Right.
And I think it's frustrating people a little bit because we're filling up new events sooner than we think we would be. But the more interest that we have in something, the more I'm going to go back to that presenter and ask if they'll come back again and again.
Right. Yeah. That's a good problem to have.
It
that
is
we're getting the word out and the programs are filling, but then you tend to circle back and have another session of that. And the other thing I should mention for people, new people, but also people that have been coming regularly, is that we try to highlight all the kind of oddball situations in red throughout the newsletter so that people understand, this program normally meets the first Thursday of every month, but this month it's changed for some reason. So we try our best to highlight everything. So even if you're a regular attendee, it's a great idea to go through the newsletter and see what's changed this month.
I lost my train of thought. Oh my God, isn't that the funniest thing? It happens to me a lot. I was going to say that we encourage everyone to register for our programs. Some registrations say appreciated, some say required. But I am going to reiterate the comment that I made earlier and say, we really need you to register. And you're not just holding a spot, it's your spot. And if the event fills up, we're going to close it.
Right.
And we're finding that more and more now. We're seeing that.
Yes.
We do have a maximum number for most events, and we are at those maximum numbers or over them, and we're taking waiting lists for the events that are happening. That being said, Carrie, our front desk receptionist, is beyond amazing with contacting people to remind them they're registered and say, if you need to cancel, please do so immediately, because we do have an extensive waiting list.
Yes, she's great about that, trying to fill every spot.
Yes.
Because the last thing you want to do is have, some empty seats there when you know that people
really wanted to.
would have been in the room.
Right.
So,
Bernadette, our time has come to an end, and just like it always does, it goes way too fast.
Yes.
I feel like we always miss something. But I cannot thank you enough for joining me today and helping me explain to our community what goes into creating our newsletters. So now we're hoping that people will understand a little bit more. And if there's something that you would like to share or a program you would like to do, please reach out to me and let me know. I'll send you all the information you need, and we can sit down and talk about starting a new program at Cal.
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again. Have a great day.